I love all those who are like heavy drops falling individually from the dark cloud that hangs over humanity. They herald the coming of the lightning, and as heralds they perish. I am a herald of the lightning and a heavy drop from the cloud, but this lightning is called Overman. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not an end. The need to show that as the consumption of man and mankind becomes more and more economical, and the machinery of interests and services is integrated ever more intricately, a counter-movement is inevitable. My metaphor for this type is the word Overman. What is the ape to a human? A laughingstock or a painful embarrassment. That is precisely what the human shall be to the Overman, a laughingstock or a painful embarrassment. You have made your way from worm to human, and much in you is still worm. I designate this a higher type that arises and preserves itself under different conditions from those of the average man. As the secretion of a luxury surplus of mankind, it aims to bring to light a stronger species. Behold, I teach you the Overman. The Overman is the meaning of the earth. Let your will say, the Overman shall be the meaning of the earth. something that must be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? All creatures so far created something beyond themselves, and you want to be the ebb of this great flood, and would even rather go back to animals than overcome humans. What is the ape to a human? A laughing stock or a painful embarrassment. And that is precisely what the human shall be to the Overman, a laughing stock or a painful embarrassment. You have made your way from worm to human, and much in you is still worm. Once you were apes, and even now a human still more ape than any ape. Never yet has there been an Overman. In opposition to this dwarfing and adaptation of man to a specialized utility, a reverse movement is needed, the production of a synthetic, summarizing, justifying man, for whose existence this transformation of mankind into a machine is a precondition, as a base on which he can invent his higher form of being. He needs the opposition of the masses, of the leveled, a feeling of distance from them. He stands on them, he lives off them. This higher form of aristocracy is that of the future. Morally speaking, this overall machinery, this solidarity of all gears, represents a maximum in the exploitation of man. But it presupposes those on whose account this exploitation has meaning. Otherwise, it would really be nothing but an overall diminution, a value diminution of the type man, a regressive phenomenon in the grand style. It is clear, what I combat is economic optimism, as if increasing expenditure of everyone must necessarily involve the increasing welfare of everyone. The opposite seems to me to be the case. Expenditure of everyone amounts to a collective loss. Man is diminished, so one no longer knows what aim this tremendous process has served. An aim, a new aim. That is what humanity needs.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Now this is a session on artificial intelligence, and as you all probably all know, artificial intelligence is no longer a science fiction movie, it's actually all around us. So we will be discussing artificial intelligence, the state of it today, and its benefits and risks, near-term application, as well as what we need to be prepared for the future of artificial intelligence.
precisely the driving force that brings to mind the breeding of a stronger race. Not merely a master race whose sole task is to rule, but a race with its own sphere of life, with an excess of strength for beauty, bravery, culture, manners to the highest peak of the spirit. An affirming race that may grant itself every great luxury, strong enough to have no need of the tyranny of the virtue imperative, rich enough to have no need of thrift and pedantry, beyond good and evil, a hothouse for strange and choice plants. Mankind is a rope fastened between animal and overman, a rope over an abyss. A dangerous crossing, a dangerous on the way, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous shuddering and standing still. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not an end. What is lovable about man is that he is a crossing over and a going under. I love those who do not know how to live unless by going under, for they are the ones who cross over. I love the great despisers, because they are the great venerators and arrows of longing for the other shore. I love those who do not first seek behind the stars for a reason to go under and be a sacrifice, who instead sacrifice themselves for the earth, so that the earth may one day become the overman's. I love the one who lives in order to know, and who wants to know so that one day the overman may live. And so he wants his going under. I love the one who works and invents in order to build a house for the overman, and to prepare earth, animals, and plants for him, for thus he wants his going under. The overman's beauty came to me as a shadow. Oh, my brothers, of what concern to me any more are gods. I do not want to be mixed in with and mistaken for these preachers of equality, for thus justice speaks to me. Humans are not equal, and they shouldn't become so either. What would my love for the overman be if I spoke otherwise? Those who care most today ask, how are human beings to be preserved? Zarathustra is the only one and the first one to ask, how shall human beings be overcome?
Alright, so TensorFlow, as a lot of you know, is Google's currently open source machine learning library, which was released in November 2015 and is specialized in the deep learning. It's been widely accepted by developer community as well as research, and currently available on the
There are several approaches to defining tensors. Although seemingly different, the approaches just describe the same geometric concept using different languages and at different levels of abstraction. Just as a vector in an n-dimensional space is represented by a one-dimensional array of length n with respect to a given basis, any tensor with respect to a basis is represented by a multidimensional array. For example, a linear transformation is represented in a basis as a two-dimensional square n by n array. The numbers in the multidimensional array are known as the scalar components of the tensor, or simply its components. They're denoted by indices, giving their position in the array as subscripts and superscripts, following the symbolic name of the tensor. For example, the components of an order 2 tensor, capital T, could be denoted by capital T subscript ij, where I and j are indices running from 1 to n. Whether an index is displayed as a superscript or subscript depends on the transformation properties of the tensor. The total number of indices required to uniquely select each component is equal to the dimension of the array, and is called the order, degree, or rank of the tensor. However, the term rank generally has another meaning in the context of matrices and tensors. Just as the components of a vector change when we change the basis of the vector space, the components of a tensor also change under such a transformation. Each tensor comes equipped with a transformation law that details how the components of the tensor respond to a change of basis. The components of a vector can respond in two distinct ways to a change of basis that would fall under something called covariance and covariance of vectors.
Covariant transformation because the
covector transforms by the same matrix as the change of basis matrix. The components of a more general tensor transform by some combination of covariant and contravariant transformations, with one transformation law for each index. If the transformation matrix of an index is the inverse matrix of the basis transformation, then the index is called contravariant and is traditionally denoted with an upper indexed, i.e. superscript. If the transformation matrix of an index is the basis transformation itself, then the index is called covariant and is described by a subscript.
So estranged from greatness are you in your souls that the Overman would seem terrible to you in his kindness. And you wise and knowing ones, you would flee from the sunburn of wisdom in which the Overman joyfully bathes his nakedness. You highest humans whom I have ever laid eyes on, this is my doubt in you and my secret laughter. I suspect you would call my Overman Devil. Dead are all gods, now we want the Overman to live. Let this be our last will at the great noon. Once people said God when they gazed upon distant seas, but now I have taught you to say Overman. God is a conjecture, but I want that your conjecturing not reach further than your creating will. Could you create a god? Then be silent about any gods, but you could well create the Overman. Not you yourselves, perhaps, my brothers, but you could recreate yourselves into fathers and forefathers of the Overman, and this shall be your best creating. Better than a man, woman understands children, but a man is more childish than a woman. In the real man, a child is concealed. It wants to play. Go now, you women, go discover the child in the man. Let woman be a plaything, pure and fine, like a gemstone radiated by the virtues of a world that does not yet exist. Let the ray of a star shine in your love. Let your hope be, may I give birth to the Overman. What is effeminate? What comes from the servant's ilk, and especially the rabble mishmash, that now wants to become ruler of all human destiny? O nausea, 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 that asks and does not tire. How do human beings preserve themselves best, longest, most pleasantly? With that, they are the rulers of today. Overcome these rulers of today for me, O my brothers. These little people, they are the Overman's greatest danger. Overcome for me, you higher men, the little virtues, the little prudence, the sand-grain-sized considerations, the detritus of swarming ants, the pitiful contentedness, the happiness of the greatest number, and despair rather than surrender. And truly, I love you for not knowing how to live today, you higher men, for thus you live best. was here in paganism that the luxury of individuals was first permitted. It was here that one first honored the rights of individuals, the invention of gods, heroes, and overmen of all kinds, as well as near men and undermen, dwarves, fairies, centaurs, satyrs, demons, and devils, was the inestimable preliminary exercise for the justification of the egoism and sovereignty of the individual, the freedom that one conceded to a god in his relation to other gods. Mankind does not represent a development towards something better or stronger or higher in the way it is believed today. Progress is merely a modern idea, that is, a false idea. The European of today stands far below the European of the Renaissance. Further development is not by any necessity at all an exaltation, an elevation, a strengthening. In another sense, there is a continuous success story of individual cases in the most various places and from the most various cultures, in which a higher type does indeed appear, something which in relation to all of mankind is a kind of overman. Such lucky incidents of great success have always been possible, and will perhaps always be possible, and even entire races, tribes, peoples, can under certain circumstances bring off such a lucky hit.
networks, which have become popular in the last 5 years and have achieved state-of-the-art results in many fields such as image and voice recognition, NLP, and plenty of others. So let me perhaps give you a few examples of how what types of problems you guys can solve with machine learning and deep learning in particular, and then go to a few more formal definitions. So you see two pictures, right? One is apple, one is orange, and I'm pretty sure all of you are able to tell which one is which, right? But tell me this, who's going to be able to write a program that's given a random image is going to be able to spit out a label whether that image contains an apple or orange? Writing such programs in C++, Java, Python, whatever language you're using is not such a trivial task, and that's where machine learning comes to rescue. It's machine learning and deep learning in particular are really great techniques and tools that you can use to address such problems.
Okay, this picture is me and Emily. We took this picture in the bathroom at the Staples Center at a Justin Bieber concert. I posted a nude selfie.
In the United States, women make 77 cents for every dollar that men make in the world.
are choosing majors in engineering, the physical sciences, and computer science. In some cases, it's 2 to 4% of freshman women choosing those majors.
With every increase of greatness and height in man, there is also an increase in depth and terror. One ought not to desire the one without the other, or rather, the more radically one desires the one, the more radically one achieves precisely the other.